So in today's video, I'm going to be grading every League 2 club's 2023 summer transfer window. If you do go on to enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Yeah, comment as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below, do you agree with my ranking of your club? Obviously, you'll know your team's transfer window much better than me, so if you do agree or disagree, make sure to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. We're not going to go through in alphabetical order, we're going to go through in a completely random order as well, so you can't just skip to your club. Make sure to drop a like on there for me, subscribe if you're new as well, and let's get into it. Starting out then with Swindon Town, they've brought in players such as Tariq Uwakwe from Crewe Alexandra, Liam Kinsella's also come in from Walsall. I like the signing of Adoka Godwin Malife from Forest Green Rovers. They paid an undisclosed fee for him. I do like that signing, but obviously their two main signings of the summer so far, Dan Kemp and Jake Young, both coming in on loan from MK Dons and Bradford City respectively. Them two have absolutely set the world on fire so far for Swindon, and I think overall they are stronger than what they were last season. Their only real departure of any significance is Johnny Williams. He's joined fellow League 2 side Gillingham, but at 29 years of age, fairly injury prone. I feel like with the route Swindon are going down, they needed to get him off the book. So in terms of have they improved in the transfer window, I would definitely say so. They've got some of their fringe players out the door like Marcel Laviner, Ronan Darcy, Elise Andolo. They got a big fee in from Jacob Wakelin as well to Peterborough. I think it were about £200,000-300,000 and he wasn't even making their starting 11. So I think overall they are definitely much stronger than how they started the window. I'm going with an 8 out of 10 for Swindon Town. Channel memberships are now cheaper than ever, with tier 1 costing just 99p. Tier 2 has been reduced from £3.99 a month down to £1.99 a month, and tier 3 has been reduced from £8.99 a month down to just £4.99 a month. Your support as always is massively appreciated, and the more members that we have, the better the content will be. Enjoy the rest of the video. Next up then is Harrogate Town. I'll look at some of their signings so far, like Matty Daly coming back to the club on a permanent basis. I like the signing of Liam Gibson as well. Matty Folds has joined the club on a permanent deal. They brought in Josh March from Stevenage. They managed to keep hold of Luke Armstrong as well. Wrexham didn't submit their papers in time, so Josh March came in to be his replacement and Armstrong's ended up staying, so I think that is a good sign. And obviously keeping Armstrong, while he might not necessarily want to be there, he is still one of the best strikers in the league in my opinion. Their only real departure this transfer window is Alex Patterson. He's joined my team Bradford City, and that is a pretty significant loss for them because he's a very, very good player. Their other departures, nothing really too significant in there, and I think overall they are probably slightly stronger. Obviously Patterson is a significant loss, but overall I do like some of their signings, so I'm going with a 6 out of 10 for Harrogate Town. Next up then is Stockport County. Now they've brought a lot of players in, most notably Nick Powell coming in from Stoke and also Ibu Toure coming in from Salford City. The rest of their signings are youngsters coming in on free transfers or loan deals as well, and I don't really know too much about them, so I can't really comment. Louis Barry has come in though from Aston Villa. I'm not personally a big fan of Louis Barry. I think he lives off of that goal that he scored for Aston Villa against Liverpool a couple seasons ago, but he's actually had a pretty decent start to life at Stockport County. Odin Bailey's come in from Salford. That seems like a little bit of a panic signing in my opinion. Like I said, I don't really know too much about some of their other loan players that have come in. In terms of their departures, nothing really too significant in there. Ben Barkley rejoined Carlisle on a permanent deal. Chris Hussey left the club, but I think that was down to location. I'm surprised to see Connor Lemonhay Evans leave the club on loan. Ollie Crankshaw has left the club on a permanent deal as well, but overall I would definitely say Stockport are stronger than where they were last season. I'm going with a 7 out of 10 for County. Up next then is Salford City. Now they've brought in some players such as Curtis Till, Luke Garber and Alex Cairns most notably. Declan John has also joined the club on loan as well, but obviously they did have a pretty significant loss in Ibu Toure, and I think that is a massive loss for them. He's been, the best left back, left wing back in the league over the last couple of seasons. I was surprised to see Callum Morton leave the club on loan. He's joined fellow League 2 side Forest Green Rovers, but I think overall I would say they're slightly stronger, but Toure departing definitely brings that down a little bit in my opinion, so I'm going with a 6 out of 10 for Salford City. Up next then is Tranmere Rovers. They brought back Regan Hendry on a permanent deal from Forest Green. Luke Norris has come in on a free transfer from Stevenage. Luke McGee's come in from Forest Green. I think that's an incredible signing in my opinion. Christian Dennis on paper is a great signing from Carlisle, one of the top goal scorers in the league last season, with Connor Jennings also returning to the football club. And then again, I don't really know too much about some of these loan players that they have brought in. They have had a few significant departures though. Josh Dakers-Cogley has joined Bolton Wanderers. Ken Hemmings terminated his contract and he's gone to Stevenage. I know it didn't really work out for him at Tranmere, but I do think he's a steady League 2 striker. And you also did see a departure of Ethan Ethan Bristow. He's joined Minnesota in the MLS for an undisclosed fee. I would say overall, I would say they're stronger in some positions and then weaker in other positions. So I'd have to average that out at a 5 out of 10 in my opinion. Next up then is AFC Wimbledon, and they've made a hell of a lot of signings. Jake Reeves has rejoined the club on a free transfer from Stevenage. You also saw Omar Bougiel come in. Bougiel? I'm not really too sure. He's come in though from Sutton United. Josh Neufville has come in on a free transfer from Luton Town's under-21s. James Tilley has come in from Crawley. I really do like that signing in my opinion. Alex Bass has come in on loan from Sunderland. One game he can be the best keeper in the league, and then the next game he can look Sunday league standard. I really like the signing of Connor Lemonhay Evans on loan from Stockport County, and then I don't really know too much about some of their other signings. In terms of departures, their only real significant departure is Ethan Chislett, and he was very hot and cold for me, very inconsistent. He's made that step up into League One with Port Vale, but the rest of their departures, I don't think there's anything too significant in there really. You know, they've got a couple of their older players out the door, such as Chris Gunter, Aaron Pierre. You also saw Alex Woodyard leave the club as well. I think overall it's been a very successful transfer window for AFC Wimbledon. They needed it after such a poor year last season, but I'm going with a 9 out of 10 for AFC Wimbledon. Next up then is MK Dons. Now, I didn't mean to put them next to AFC Wimbledon. It's just the way that it does seem to have fallen, but they, for me, are definitely contenders for window of the window. You know what I'm trying to say? They've had an unbelievable window in my opinion. Some of their signings are very good. Jack Payne has come in on loan from Charlton. Anthony Stewart has come in on loan from Aberdeen. He was brilliant with Wickham a couple seasons ago. Joe Tomlinson, MJ Williams and Ellis Harrison have paid a bit of money for. They're 3 very good signings in my opinion. They've also brought in some good free transfer additions like Cameron Norman, Craig McGillivray, Ash Hunter and Alex Gilby. In terms of their departures, nothing really too significant. Obviously they let Dan Kemp go out on loan to Swindon, which I was a little bit surprised to see. The rest of their departures don't really concern me all too much. They managed to get Will Grigg off the books. Sully Kai moved on to Cambridge, and I think overall they've had an unbelievable window. Like, I'm going 10 out of 10 for MK Dons. The signings they've brought in, they're in a better position now than what they were last season, and they're in the league below. I definitely will be backing MK Dons for at least the top 3 now this season. I'm really impressed by some of their recruitment so far, and for me personally, MK Dons absolutely deserve a 10 out of 10. From one end of the scale though, down to the next, Newport County are the next team for us, and they've had a really poor window. I'm not impressed by any of their signings really. I don't really know too much about a lot of them. A few players coming in from Wales and Ireland, and a lot of loans from Premier League sides under 21s. I look at their departures. Cameron Norman leaving the club, significant loss to MK Dons. Aaron Lewis leaving the club, another significant loss, going to Mansfield Town as well. Mickey Demetriou has been there for a long time. He's joined Crewe Alexandra. I think overall it's a very poor window for Newport. Their most notable signings are Byrne Morris coming in from Grimsby, Ryan Delaney coming in from Morecambe, and Shane McLaughlin coming in from Salford. I'm not impressed by any of that. I think it's a terrible window for Newport County. I'm going with a 2 out of 10. Next up then is Mansfield Town. I think they've had a brilliant window in my opinion. They knew where they needed to improve from last season, and they definitely have done that. Lots of defensive options. Aidan Flint coming in, George Williams, Bailey Cargill, Aaron Lewis, Callum McDonald, Christy Pym coming back on a permanent deal, as well as Will Swan coming in on a permanent deal. Lewis Brunt has also come in on loan from Leicester. Their departures are not really anything too significant, only really Anthony Hartigan, who's gone out on loan to Barnet for the remainder of the campaign. You know, they let some of their fringe players go like Kieran Wallace, Jason Law, James Perch is still without a club as well. Danny Johnson, they let go as well. He's rejoined Walsall, as we already spoke about. But overall, for me, I think they've massively improved in the areas they needed to improve in. They're similar to MK Dons. It's a 10 out of 10 window for Mansfield Town. Absolutely brilliant. Next up then is Barrow AFC. Now, they've brought in a couple of experienced players from Port Vale in David Worrell and Jamie Proctor. Dean Campbell's coming as well on a free transfer from Aberdeen. James Chester provides a wealth of experience from Derby County. Dom Telford is a very interesting signing. He's come in on a permanent deal from Crawley Town, but their departures, there is some pretty significant ones. Patrick Brough has left the club and joined Northampton. He was one of the best left backs in the league last season. Josh Gordon was very hot and cold at times. He's also made that step up into League One with Burton Albion, and Josh Kay has actually made the step down into the National League with Fylde. Really surprised to see that one, but I think overall for me, they're stronger in some areas, weaker in others. Very similar to like the Tranmere Rovers that we spoke about earlier. I'm going with a 5 out of 10 for Barrow. After that then, we move on to my team, Bradford City. Now, we've made a hell of a lot of signings. I think it's 11 signings in total. A fair decent amount of departures as well. Obviously, we let some players go like Adam Clayton, Jan Songo, Abo Issa, but in terms of our actual departures, Matty Folds left the club on a permanent deal. Ryan East went out on loan, Jake Young went out on loan, and so did Luke Hendry as well. And in terms of our signings, we brought in Lewis Richards on a permanent deal from Wolves. Apparently, according to Transfermarkt, we paid £35,000 for him, which I think is a pretty decent amount of money, you know, for Bradford City, we don't really spend too much money, and it looks like a good investment so far. Ash Taylor's coming from Kilmarnock, Alex Patterson's coming from Harrogate, Tyler Smith's coming from Hull, Clark Duarte has come in from Barnsley, Kevin McDonald has come in from Exeter, Adam Wilson has come in from the New Saints, Daniel Ugoke has joined the club on loan from Brentford's B team, Rayhan Tulloch has come on loan from West Brom's under-21s, Jonathan Tompkinson has come in on loan from Norwich City, and Chisholm Afoka has come in on loan from Aston Villa's under-21s as well. Again, comparing it to last season, we're stronger in some positions like central midfield, left back, but then I think we're weaker in other positions like on the wing, and going forward, we're still, I don't think we're weaker than last season, but because Cook is not scoring 17 goals every game now, overall, we are now weaker than what we were last season. So I think it's going to have to be another average window for us. I'm going 5 out of 10 for Bradford City. I think we just needed a bit more quality. Rather than numbers, I think we should have gone for quality. I think that's what we needed, and we didn't go down that route. We went for the numbers, and I'm going with a 5 out of 10. Before we do get any further into today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below, and let's get into the next team. Next up then is Colchester United. They brought in Jay Mingy on a free transfer from Portsmouth. They've also brought in Awura Edwards, who's come in on a permanent deal from Bristol City. Mandela Egbo has relinked up with Ben Garner, and he joins the club on a permanent deal from Charlton. Elise Andolo comes in from Swindon Town. I really like the signing of Joe Taylor coming in on loan from Luton. He actually scored against my team, Bradford City. A terrible goal to concede, but I don't mind some of their signings so far. Their departures, though, are what makes this a better window for me. They've got rid of a lot of experienced heads that they just didn't need anymore. Tom Eastman left, Luke Hannon left, Tommy Smith also left, and we saw 5 former Ipswich players also leave the club in Emrah Hughes. I absolutely apologise to all Welsh viewers who've just completely had to have their ears ripped apart by what I've just produced there. Freddie Sears also left the club. Alan Judge, Cole Skewels and Luke Chambers were a couple of the other ones as well. Their average age of the squad has definitely come down. I like Ben Garner. I think they're definitely stronger than what they were last season. I'm going with a 6 out of 10 though for Colchester United. After that, we move on to Crewe Alexandra. Now they've brought in Shiloh Tracy from Cambridge. Ryan Cooney's come in from Morecambe. Mickey Demetriou coming in from Newport. I like that signing. Jack Powell coming back to the club as well from Crawley Town. I also like that signing. I don't really know too much about the rest of their deals. The most significant departures though, Dan Hadji's moved up to Leyton Orient, big part of their success last season. Tariq Uwakwe has also left the club as well to Swindon. That's also a pretty significant loss. David Amu has joined Ebbsfleet. Rob McDonald actually turned down a new contract with Crewe and has joined Harrogate Town as well. I think overall, I'd say they're slightly weaker than what they were last season because of Dan Hadji moving on. So I'm going with a 4 out of 10 for Crewe Alexandra. After that, we move on then to my friends down at Gillingham. Now, this had the potential to be a 10 out of 10 window. They started out brilliantly by bringing Connor Masterson back to the club. They brought in some really experience and pedigree like Scott Malone. Max Clark joined the club as well. Johnny Williams, obviously that whole transfer saga with him looked like he would join Bradford City, then at his last second he changed his mind and went down into Gillingham. I like the sign of Sajak Ogie. I've absolutely butchered his name there. Ashton Addison and Macaulay Bonne are two. Well, they're not Alfie May either. They thought at one point they were getting Alfie May, and that would have definitely taken it to a 10 out of 10 window. Macaulay Bonne, I don't rate at all. I think that's a terrible sign. I think it's a bit of a panic signing as well, in my opinion. I don't mind a signing of Ashley Addison. I really like his work rate, and he's going to score a decent amount of goals for them this season. So I'm going with a 7 out of 10 for Gillingham. Had the potential if they got Alfie May in to be a 10. I'm going with a 7 though in the end for the Gills. Accrington Stanley up next then. Now, none of their signings really on paper impressed me. I'm not going to lie to you. Kelvin Mellett was terrible for the last couple of years, wherever he's been. Bradford, Carlisle, Crewe most recently. He's never really impressed all too much. I do like the signing of Josh Andrews coming in on loan from Birmingham. He actually scored against us in the Carabao Cup first round. I think he's a little bit of a handful. In terms of their departures though, they have had some pretty significant ones. Harvey Rogers has joined Grimsby. Mitch Clark has joined Port Vale. Michael Nottingham has joined Livingston as well. David Morgan has joined Southport. I'm not really too sure who Southport are. They're a bit of a small club though. Ethan Hamilton has left the club on a permanent basis and joined Lincoln. That's a pretty significant loss. I do really rate Ethan Hamilton in my opinion. I think overall, because I don't know too much about some of these loan players that they brought in from Norwich, I'm going to have to give it a poor window for Accrington. While I think Coleman's a good manager, he'll get the best out of the players. On paper, their squad is considerably weaker than what it was last season. I'm going with a 2 out of 10 for Accrington Stanley. After that then, we move on to Notts County. Now again, this one had the potential to be a 10 out of 10. Ruben Rodriguez moving on though to Oxford United is the only reason why I can't give them any higher than the figure that I am going to give them in the end. That is a pretty significant loss. While I think they've recruited very well, I like the signing of Dan Crowley from Morecambe. David McGoldrick is obviously one of the signings of the summer for the whole of League Two. Did brilliantly last season for Derby County. Aidan Stone is a good keeper at this level as well. He's come in from Port Vale. They brought back Jody Jones on a permanent basis. I really like the signing of Will Randall as well. He's come in from Sutton United. I think overall they're definitely stronger than what they were last season. I'm going with an 8 out of 10 for Notts County. Next up then we have Forest Green Rovers. Now there's definitely been a lot of movement for them so far. Frankete Darbo has come in from Coventry City. Troy Deeney's come in as a player coach from Birmingham. Ryan Innes has come in from Charlton. Jacob Maddox has come in. Matty Taylor has rejoined the club. Darnell Johnson and Luke Daniels also make up a few numbers as well. They spent money on players like Nathan Holland, Marcel Laviner, Jamie Searle and Alfie Beendle. I'm not really too sure there. They brought in Callum Morton on loan as well. I don't really know too much about some of their other loan signings, but in terms of their departures, there's a lot of very significant ones. Ben Stevenson has gone to Portsmouth. Regan Hendry has gone to Tranmere. Dylan McGeouch has joined Carlisle. Bailey Cargill's joined Mansfield. Luke McGee has joined Tranmere. Corey O'Keefe's joined Barnsley. Udoka Godwin Malife has joined Swindon Town as well. You know, they've had a lot of departures in there, and I don't think their signings have really improved their squad. I think their squad is actually considerably worse, in my opinion. While I don't mind the signings of Darbo and Taylor, Ryan Innes is a red card merchant for me. Troy Deeney, not a fan of him whatsoever. I'm going with a stinky window, 3 out of 10. Sutton United are up next then. Now they're a bit of a weird one, to be honest, because they've recruited very well, but they've also had some pretty significant departures. They've brought in some good League Two experience in Scott Cashgate, Craig Clay, Amari Patrick, Harry Smith. I really like that signing as well. Dion Pereira has joined the club on loan. Aidan O'Brien's come in from Shrewsbury on loan as well. I really like the signing of the Ebbsfleet United central midfielder Christian Nguesan. I do apologise if I have pronounced that wrong. I really do like that signing though. He's come in on a free transfer. They have had some significant departures though. Alistair Smith has joined Lincoln City. They've also seen Kilian Kouassi. He's joined Blackpool on a free transfer as well. They've also lost Donovan Wilson to Grimsby. Will Randall to Notts County. I think overall they are still slightly stronger than what they were last season despite having some significant departures. I'm going with a 6 out of 10 window for Sutton United. Doncaster Rovers up next, and now I think Doncaster fans are finally coming to the realisation their window wasn't as good as what they thought at the start of the season. I wasn't overly impressed with a lot of their signings and I was getting criticised and slandered by the Doncaster fans for that, but I think after the start to the season they've had, they're now realising Richard Wood definitely passed it. Joe Ironside is not going to score 40 goals like what some fans thought. I do like the signing though of Deji Satana. He's coming from Burnley's under-21s. That's a bit of a hidden gem pick there from Grant McCann. The rest of their signings, Jamie Sterry on paper could be a good signing. The rest of them, I'm not overly impressed by now. I don't know too much about some of these youngsters that they brought in on loan and from the National League. I don't really know too much about that. A lot of their recruitment screams cheap to me. They needed to do recruitment. In terms of their departures, they've got a lot of their fringe players who weren't really going to get game time this season out the door. And I do think they are stronger than what they were last season, just not as strong as maybe what some Doncaster fans potentially thought. I'm going with a 7 out of 10 window for Doncaster. Crawley Town up next then, and I have no idea where to even start with Crawley. They have had an absolutely terrible window. Liam Kelly has come in, Ade Adeyemyo's come in from Cray Valley, Joy McKenna is coming from St Albans. They've done a lot of recruitment from the deep depths of non-league. Ronan Darcy's coming from Swindon. Will Wright is coming from Gillingham. Danilo Orsi's coming from Grimsby. It seems like a lot of panic signings to me, in my opinion. I do like the signing though of Adam Campbell. He's coming from Gateshead, but apart from that, all their signings are not exactly, you know, I'm not really looking at them and thinking, yes, that's an absolutely brilliant signing. I look at their departures, though, and I think, wow, they've lost a lot. Jake Hessenhall has left the club. They've also lost Aramide Ote. Kwesi Apia's left. Tony Craig's also left the club. I think losing Dom Telford would have been good business because obviously he was on high wages, and to get him off the wage bill would have been a good move, but they've not really replaced him, so it seems like a pretty pointless deal. Jack Powell and James Tilley are two significant departures for me. I think overall it's an absolutely terrible window for Crawley, sorry. I'm going with a 1 out of 10. Not many teams left to go then. Walsall are the next team up, and obviously they've brought back Danny Johnson from Mansfield. That is obviously a good sign. You know, he did well for them in the first half of last season. I like the signing of Aramide Ote. He's joined the club on a permanent deal. Chris Hussey provides some some good experience in there. Ryan Sturkey's come in on a free transfer from Birmingham. Again, I don't really know too much about some of these youngsters that they brought in on loan. In terms of their departures, Manny Monthé is their only real significant departure. Obviously, Liam Kinsella's been there for a decent amount of time now. He's moved on to Swindon to link back up with Michael Flynn. We've also seen the departure of Connor Wilkinson. Andy Williams also left the club as well. But overall, for me, I think it's been a pretty average window for Walsall. They've done well in the departures, apart from Monthé, but their signings, none of them really impressed me at all too much, apart from maybe Danny Johnson. So I'm going with a 5 out of 10 for the Saddlers. Grimsby Town up next then, and I think they've had a really good window in my opinion. Harvey Rogers coming in from Accrington, Arthur Ganoa coming in from Morecambe, Donovan Wilson, good experience. Abawisa didn't really work out for him at Bradford City, but he's doing very well in their start to the season. Charles Vernham on his day, one of the best wingers in the league. Danny Rose comes in from Stevenage as well. Obviously, Camel Conte is the star signing in my opinion. Absolutely brilliant option to have in the centre of midfield. Again, they've got some of their fringe players out the door as well. Max Crocombe moving on to Burton is a pretty significant loss, but apart from that, none of their departures or anything to be too concerned about. I think it's a really good window for Grimsby Town in my opinion. I'm going with a 9 out of 10 for Paul Hurst's side. Next up then is Morecambe. Now, they've had a pretty torrid time in the transfer window. Obviously, with their off the field issues, they didn't really have much option but to try and offer free, cheap contracts, and they brought in a lot of loans, a lot of free transfers. Their most notable signings on frees are probably Joel Senior, Jan Songo, David Tatonda, and I'd probably say Charlie Brown. They're not bad options. I do quite like some of them as signings, but their departures are very significant. Dan Crowley's left the club, Cole Stockton, Connor Ripley, Ash Hunter as well, Liam Gibson, Arthur Ganoa. They've had some real significant losses in here, and for me personally, I think it is a poor window for Morecambe. It was expected because of their off the field issues and the relegation, but I can't give them any higher than this rating. I'm going with a 2 out of 10 for Morecambe. Really poor window, but under the circumstances, it's not a bad window, but in terms of their squad compared to last season, it's a bad window. 2 out of 10. And the final team to discuss then is Wrexham. They've brought in some very good signings, as Wrexham always do. James McLean's come in for around €290,000. George Evans has come in on a free transfer from Millwall. Will Boyler's come in from Huddersfield Town as well. I really do like that signing. They've brought in a couple of goalkeepers in on loan as well. Nothing really significant in the departure column, apart from maybe Rory Watson going to Doncaster, but apart from that, a lot of their other players have left on frees or loans to Nantwich Town. Actually, quite a lot of them. I'm not really too sure what's going on there. Obviously, Ben Foster has since retired as well, but he wasn't exactly the greatest in my opinion. Overall, for me, very solid window. They're comfortably better than where they were last season. I'm going with a 9 out of 10 for Wrexham. And there we have it. That wraps up today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Get a comment as well down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your thoughts on your side's transfer window that has just gone by. Obviously, you'll know your club a lot better than me, so get your thoughts in down below. Thank you all very much for watching today's video. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all very soon for another one. Peace.